Greetings, everyone. Hope you're doing well. This is M-Dog, and we're gonna attempt to look at a couple of spots here. We may end up just looking at one because it involves moving maps. So we'll see how this first one goes. Thanks once again to Iftab Moosen, who just over a day ago recommended this spot, and I did a good bit of testing here yesterday, and it seems very good, although there are some things you need to know about this spot, and so I think this is a worthwhile spot to talk about. So we're coming to 3828. This is what it looks like on the map. Now, you're going to be casting towards that log out of the water, or you can look at your map and just make sure you're sort of diagonal towards that 1.5 hole over there. What are we using? We are using ground bait. This is just sort of my own stuff. You can use whatever ground bait you want to. We're going after White Bream, so you know, regular White Bream ground bait would probably work great, but I think there's some variety there that you can use. So we're doing crackers, bloodworm, fly maggots with sunflower oil as the attractant. You need to use somewhere between a 2 something and a 3 something liter. I did some testing at 5 something. I guess I haven't actually done the 4, but the bite rate drops off dramatically with a higher liter. So you are going to have to use this leader. Hook size, I would say anywhere from like 10 to, you could probably do 14 or 16 and still get the same results, I would think. And in fact, that might even be a good idea, the lower you go. Why don't we test a 13 on this one? And then the bait we're using is, once again, Bloodworm 10, which is a boilie. So you do have to have unlocked boilies through your bottom feeder fishing. Okay, so that's what we're using. I'm liking to clip around 18. On the Russian forum, people talk about clipping this spot between 15 and 20. So I've just kind of landed on about 18 because sometimes you have that knockback. And that is just what I like. So a couple things here. Let's tighten this up a little bit. Keep your friction brake low. I keep it at about 10. It is possible that you will occasionally catch common carp, even with the small hooks. If you're lucky, it will be a really small common carp. But if you don't keep, and you see this leader is 2.3, so even smaller. If you don't keep it at a, we'll do 18 again. If you don't keep it at a low drag with your friction, you can snap your line before you even have a chance to pull your line up. So I keep it on about 10. That usually gives me enough time to get the rod up so that I see what's going on. And this is our smaller rig, but that doesn't really matter. We'll go 17 on this one just to have a slight bit of variety. And we're doing the same ground bait, same bait across all three. Now, oh wait, let's check our drag on this one. Let's go down to 10 on the friction brake. So I've definitely snapped a line here, so you lose your hook and your basically everything, including the leader, right? Leader, hook, and bait, I guess, and the ground bait. So that has definitely happened in this spot to me, so be careful. The other thing that I think is important to know about this spot is that it is a slow bite rate. You are not, this is a good watch Netflix, but pay pretty close attention because you don't want your lines to get broken or whatever. But this is a good spot to watch Netflix because throughout the day, the bite rate will be pretty slow. The good news about this spot, however, is that you will catch really nice white bream. It tends to be all markers. I'd say at least 90% markers. And yeah, so it's in that way it's good, but it is definitely slow. So we will see if we can at least catch a couple of fish to check and see if this spot is still working a day later, which hopefully it will be in that short a time, but just kind of let you see how the spot works. But my hope is to also go to another water body and show you and experiment with something else. I read something on the forums that was really interesting and I wanted to try it out, and I thought we would just try it instead of testing it beforehand. Just try it on our video. Okay, here's the first fish. Let's see what this is. It looks like this actually is a small one. Yeah. So at least before, for me, that size was not common. It was, I would say, 10% or less of them were that size. Most of them were larger. And unlike most bream spots, I did not catch very many overnight. So it actually slowed down to a crawl, almost non-existent at night. During the day was when I would kind of catch them throughout the day. So to me, this spot was maybe more like a 4 a.m. to 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. kind of spot. I don't know if that's been everybody else's experience, but for me, like, that's kind of how it went. You will occasionally see a common carp, like I said, and you'll occasionally get something like a common roach or whatever, but a lot of the bites end up being white bream. I guess yesterday when I was testing this spot out, there were times that it kind of felt like they came in waves. So I might see 2 or 3 come pretty quick, but it was never action-packed. But the size on the white bream were so good that by the end of, a day, day and a half, I made some decent silver. So we'll see if we can recreate that at all. Looks like this is the second one. Definitely saw them nibbling some yesterday, so you want to wait till it seems like they're really on there. This is a crucian, maybe? Oops. Okay. I think this is going to be our first marker. At least I think it's a marker. Yeah. So 319, and that's kind of on the smaller end of the ones that I was seeing mostly yesterday. A lot, sort of that 400 to 500 kilo range. Sorry, 400 to 500 gram range. But that's what we're looking for, and it looks like they are still in this spot. So we'll stay a little while and see if we can get a couple of them or a few of decent ones. But I'm gonna try not to stay here too long, just long enough for you to see how the spot kind of looks. Mostly the only thing I was catching overnight. That's another good one, I think. Oh, no, that's a roach. Mostly the only thing I was catching overnight, I got a couple of regular bream, but they were all really small, so it didn't seem very good overnight to me. This spot really does require patience. And because of the bite rate, if you're a higher level player, this is probably not a spot you come back and farm. Unless you're just looking for something to do, but if you are leveling through Old Burg, it's maybe worth it. One thing that's worth noting, you're going to have to go to Mosquito or Winding to get this size leaders. They are certainly all sold out here. And Winding or Mosquito, one of them has the 2 size and one of them has the 3 size. And I've kind of tested both, and it seems like they both work. And I think I might go with at least a 10, if not a 12 hook size, just to try to decrease your chances of getting totally wrecked on a common carp. Alright, let's hope this is something good. Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, it's a nice one. Almost 600 grams. That's what we're here for, right? So just kind of slow and steady throughout the day. Looks like we're finally getting one on the first line now. You know, around 1800 or so, you might get an increase in bite rate given that temperature goes down a little. And then in the morning as well. A little better bite rate in the morning, should be at least. And try it at night, because it may have just been that I had an unlucky evening or overnight. Because normally these white bream spots or blue bream spots, certainly regular, they usually do well overnight, really well. But it may be here that just sort of the regular bream kind of take over, which you could adjust for. You could put larger hooks and garlic dough on, or try to go for burbot or something else, eel. You know, you could, a lot of things you could do at night if the white bream end up not being good for a few hours overnight. I don't know if you've noticed how long the nibbling has gone on that front line, but hopefully we'll get to see it to completion and actually see what species that is. because I really haven't noticed, I haven't done this long enough to notice if the white bream are really nibbling that long, or if that's more, if the white bream are hitting it pretty good, and that's more a sign that like this is a common roach, or hopefully not, but certainly could be a common carp nibbling that long. See how quickly the third line seems to be getting a fish here in comparison. Yeah, and you see it moving with the line now, so it's on. And if this is a white bream, this will be a nice one. So we can always hope, right? And I'm trying it, you know, you could touch your friction brake up a little bit, but I like to try to keep it down around 10 and then just kind of wear the fish out and bring it in. Yeah, that looks to be, actually it's a roach, isn't it? Oh, it's an eyed. And I caught several eyed. This is the first marker size eyed, but I did catch 2 or 3 eyed in the testing yesterday. And it's because of these boilies we're using, obviously. So that first line is finally getting a fish on. Well, let's see what was nibbling for so long, if it is the same fish. That is definitely a white bream. Alright, it's going to be decision time here soon. Do we complete the day here, or do we want to at least go try this other activity? If we don't do it now, we'll do it in the next one, but I've been wanting to try it, so we might just do it. Maybe let's try to catch one more fish before we go. And once again, this is where we're fishing. 15 to 20 clip. Sorry about that, y'all. I did not realize I've been on mute for a while. So this is why you keep the brake so low. Yeah, this certainly could have snapped it before we had a chance to pick it up. But thankfully it looks like we're going to get to see the size of this, I think, common carp, right? So I'm guessing 2 to 3 kilos is kind of how that 2 to 3 kilo common carp feels on this setup. Yeah, 2.4, so very small, but it is what it is. And let's see if we can get these other two fish in. Hopefully they'll be decent white bream. But that worked out. We had to be patient to get that in, but it did work out. That's a little eyed. So a couple of eyeds here in this spot for us. Oh, this could be a decent one maybe. Nope, that looks like a roach. Okay, so we're not going to stay here any longer, but as you see, while we're getting the white bream, we're also getting a lot of other things. I think if we would have stayed for a little longer, though, this is kind of the time of the day when the bite rate does go up, and I do think it's worth checking out this spot. See how it works for you. If you're leveling through Old Burg, because of those leaders, it's not the end of the world if it does snap, because theoretically you're not using a super expensive hook, and the leaders are anywhere from 4 to 11 silver a piece. And again, if I didn't mention this earlier, you do have to either go to Mosquito Lake or Winding Rivulet to get that size leaders. So, and let's see, we end up with 4 white bream. So we've got this white bream order that's worth 18 silver. How much time left? 1:34. Or we can see how much the white bream are worth here. Yeah, so it is better to do the order because we have this one non-marker. But just for posterity's sake, that almost 600 gram one was worth 6 silver. So that's kind of nice. All right, we'll go ahead and do that order real quick before it goes off. Okay. Looking here just to make sure we don't have some kind of weird other order, and we don't. So overall, without the white bream, we only made 5 silver. So, I don't know, what was that? 17 silver in just a couple hours there. A few hours in game time, so not bad. All right, let's go try something else real quick here. So all credit needs to go to Crispy on the Russian Fishing 4 forum. And I don't know if this is going to work or not. It was apparently working for Crispy, and Crispy reports that it's worked for other people that he has shared this with. But he kind of shared a technique here to use at Belaya to really farm small marker grayling primarily. Catch a few other fish as well, but mostly grayling. And according to him or her, it's a pretty good silver making technique to use. Now, I'm not going to fool with, I don't know how this storm's going to affect this. I'm not going to fool with setting up feeders, but that is the other thing, is you could put a couple of feeders out, maybe try to catch the rare brown trout on whatever, grasshopper or whatever they're biting on this week. But what we're going to focus on is using this. Now, this is a very cheap, wait, is this the right thing? Yeah, this is a very cheap setup, as you'll see. We're using the free spinning rod you get from Cottage Pond, the Fishing Spark 2000, and remember, this is an ultralight, and it gives you bonus to XP, which is kind of a nice thing. We're not going to use a leader, and then we're going to use any of the Aquila 4-gram lures, although I did want to check and see if the 4 was in stock, because that's the one that really gets a lot of fish on it. And I know they don't have this lure at I know they don't have this lure. We want the 5-gram, by the way, or the 4-gram. Okay, they're all out of stock. So that's going to be the disappointing part, is you can't get the ideal one technically from any of the places where we can purchase. Although I guess I didn't necessarily check Old Burg. It might be there. So anyway, but what he was doing was casting at the rocks in the water on either side of the island, on the same side as the deep hole. So that's going to be over here. And he's just casting at these rocks. So we'll just try a few casts here, see if we can get this to work at all for us. And he's doing 13 retrieval speed. He or she, combination of just straight retrieval. You want to do speed up sometimes by holding shift. And there's a fish. This could be another situation where we want to be careful about our friction brake. Because it is technically possible that you could catch something that's too big for this rig to deal with. And if that happened, obviously, Alt F4 is your friend, or just deal with the loss. But the lure is pretty expensive, so unless you're making a lot of silver, losing the lure is going to be hard to justify. That's definitely the most expensive thing on this rig. I mean, this is a very cheap rig. The reel costs, what, 10 silver. The line that I have on here, the 2 whatever line, might cost, I don't know, 30. But I've got the big spool of it. But then the lure is, I don't know, depends on where you get it, 45 or so silver. Let's see if we can actually get this fish out of the water. Looks like this is also going to require patience. I'll be curious to see what size this is. If this isn't over a kilo, then this is going to require a lot of patience in terms of trying to wear that fish out. But this is an ultralight. So it's, even the smallest of fish are going to give you a run for your money. So again, we're using 13 retrieval speed. That speed up mechanism is a good one in this on this water body, especially with the spinner baits. So use that occasionally, and then just do straight retrieval a lot. You can start and stop some too, but and then if you're a higher level player, you know, you could obviously bring a little bit nicer equipment to this process. And even though you're still in the ultralight category, you can kind of maximize the strength available to you and make this a little less painful. But so I would assume this is a grayling, but like I said, there are other, you'll see other species doing this. I think that's probably just the one you, silver-wise and all things considered, I would think grayling or brown trout is your most ideal catches in this weight range. I guess if you have a buddy with premium, ask him to send you the right lure. So this is the 005. It's the 4 gram 004 that you'll see a lot of people use. I mean, that's what will pop up on a lot of the weekly lists. Although I've seen recently the 6 has also gotten pretty popular, and the 9 as well. But I think that 4 is pretty desirable. I think I purchased this one at either Mosquito or Winding when I was there getting the leaders for the other spot. And this was posted back on March 13th, so we're talking about over a month ago. So, you know, things could have changed since Crispy initially posted this spot, but I get the feeling this is sort of a strategy that a lot of times would work here for low-level players, especially if you're wanting to increase your level up your spin fishing and your lower level. This is maybe a decent way to do it and still make some silver along the way until you get to the ability to start trolling quarry. All right, we're getting there. It's starting to tire out a little bit. Maybe this one fish will pay for the travel cost. I do think it's worth getting the big spool though. I mean, as you can see, even with this first fish we've caught, we've needed a good bit of spool just to give it some room to tire out. So we're at 187 meters of line on this reel, so it's a pretty good amount for especially this location. And this could be fun. I'll try to work on, for our next video, maybe I'll try to work on what is a reasonable sort of bottom fishing target we could have. It may be brown trout, which is just can be really slow here, but I'll do some researching, try to do some testing or something and see if we can't. Because that's when this spot could get really good if you had occasionally catching a, 2 kilo brown trout on your feeder rod as well. It makes it even more enticing to sit here trying to locate the grayling and stuff with your spinning rod. And I don't want to get too far away from bottom fishing on this account, at least not too often. So, all right, starting to see the pool of the water, the fish coming up there. Still is fighting us. We also have the current working against us. But we are almost there. I guess we could just sort of carefully get closer to where to come to the shore. I don't want to walk it all the way down. Too risky to pop off, but all right. And it's probably too late. We might cast one more time, but I'm guessing overnight you're going to struggle to get too many fish. What is this? It's upside down, I think, whatever it is. Is that an eyed? Alright, let's be a little careful here. Oh, it's a chub. Should have known. So that's a 2.3 kilo chub. Let's see what... I'm just curious what a 2.3 kilo chub is worth here. So 10 silver. It's not bad. The brown trout order is nice. Okay, let's do that same spot. One more cast before we wrap it up. Hopefully we don't hook into a time in here. I think it's going to be really hard. I mean, maybe you see an occasional perch or something this late, but I mean, I wouldn't know unless we did a lot of testing, but I'm just guessing nighttime's going to be tough here. Just spin fishing. We missed that speed up. There it is. All right, so we'll try this again. Oh, look at that at the very end. Another little chub. That's funny. All right. We'll try this again. Probably try this again next video. I mean, I don't want to make any promises because a really nice spot somewhere could pop up that might change my mind, but I think this will be fun though. Okay, as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.